Archangel Michael warns, a witch has set her sights on your destiny, and this prophetic message is your shield against her hidden schemes. My child, you are not here by accident. Even now, as you listen, something deep within you recognizes that this moment is different. There is a stirring, a gentle urgency, as if heaven itself is leaning in to speak directly to your heart. Beloved, you have felt the weight of invisible resistance pressing against your life, doors that should have opened, relationships that turned unexpectedly, opportunities that slipped through your fingers like mist. You have wondered, sometimes in the quiet of the night, if there is more to these delays than meets the eye. You have sensed confusion swirling around your destiny, a fog that refuses to lift, and you have asked, why does it feel like something is working against me? Today, I want to tell you, you are not imagining things. There is a reason for the heaviness, the setbacks, the sense that you are running in place while others seem to move forward. There is a reason for the confusion that has tried to cloud your vision and the discouragement that has whispered, maybe it's just not meant to be. But hear me, this is not the end of your story. In fact, this is the very moment where the tide begins to turn. You are seen. You are known. And you are fiercely protected by a love that will not let you go. Right now, as you listen, the atmosphere around you is shifting. The confusion that has tried to settle over your mind is being confronted by a greater clarity. The delays that have frustrated your spirit are about to give way to release. The fear that has tried to paralyze you is being met by a wave of faith that will carry you forward. There is a hidden force that has targeted your destiny, not because you are weak, but because you are chosen. The very gifts and callings within you have drawn the attention of both heaven and the adversary. But here is the truth: what has been sent to hinder you will become the very thing that reveals your strength. What was meant for harm is being turned for your good. The opposition you have felt is not a sign of abandonment, but a sign of your significance. This message is not just another word to pass the time. It is a shield, a key, a divine intervention sent to break the cycle of confusion and open the way to clarity. You are standing at the threshold of a breakthrough, and the next few moments could mark the beginning of a new chapter in your life. I invite you to lean in, to open your heart, and to allow hope to rise again. You do not have to chase after answers. You are about to carry a new understanding that will change everything. If you have felt alone in this battle, know that you are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, angels, saints, and the very presence of God Himself. Archangel Michael, the great defender, is being dispatched on your behalf. Divine justice is moving, even now, to restore what has been lost and to protect what is precious. The confusion that has tried to define your season is about to be replaced by a clarity that will light your path. Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Let your spirit settle into the truth that you are not forgotten, not overlooked, not abandoned. You are being called out of the fog and into the light. You are being invited to trade confusion for clarity, delay for release, fear for faith. This is your moment to step into the fullness of your destiny, shielded and guided by a love that never fails. If you are ready for breakthrough, if you are hungry for clarity, I invite you to stay with me. There is more to reveal, more to uncover, and more to restore. The next few moments could be the turning point you have been praying for. Let hope rise, dear one. The breakthrough you have longed for is closer than you think. Stay with me, and together, we will step into the light that has always been waiting for you. You are not alone in this battle. Even if it has felt as though you've been walking through a wilderness with no one to understand the weight you carry, I want you to know, your struggle is seen, your tears are counted, and your journey matters. There are countless others, across nations and generations, who have felt the sting of invisible resistance, the ache of doors that refuse to open, and the silent question, why me? If you have ever wondered whether you are the only one wrestling with these unseen forces, let this moment be a gentle reminder, you are part of a much larger story. There are those who have gone before you, women and men of faith, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, who have faced the same mysterious delays and betrayals. I think of a woman who, for years, felt as though every time she took a step forward, something would pull her 2 steps back. She prayed, she fasted, she did all she knew to do, yet the breakthrough seemed just out of reach. She questioned her worth, her faith, even her sanity. But in time, she discovered that her struggle was not a sign of failure, but a sign of her calling. The very resistance she faced was proof that her destiny was worth fighting for. Or consider the man who, after a season of deep disappointment, realized that the closed doors were not punishments, but protections. What he thought was rejection was actually redirection. The pain of betrayal became the soil for a new kind of trust, a trust that was not rooted in circumstances, but in the unshakable presence of God. His story, like so many others, is a testimony that you are not cursed, but chosen. Beloved, your sensitivity to these battles is not a weakness. It is a sign that you are attuned to the spiritual realm, that your spirit is awake and alert. The very fact that you notice the patterns, that you feel the shifts in the atmosphere, is evidence that you are marked for something greater. You are not being singled out for suffering, you are being set apart for purpose. The enemy does not waste energy on those who pose no threat. The resistance you feel is a backhanded compliment to the power and promise within you. It is easy, in seasons of struggle, to believe the lie of isolation, to think that no one else could possibly understand what you are facing. But the truth is, you are surrounded by a community of overcomers, both seen and unseen. You are known by name in heaven. You are protected by angels who war on your behalf. You are held in the heart of a God who never leaves nor forsakes his own. Where isolation tries to whisper that you are forgotten, presence declares that you are cherished. Right now, I invite you to take a simple, practical step. Find a quiet moment, and write down one area in your life where you have felt blocked or betrayed. It could be a relationship, a dream, a financial goal, or a hope that seems delayed. As you write, know that you are not just recording pain, you are naming it, bringing it into the light, and inviting healing to begin. This act is not just for your own clarity, but a declaration that you refuse to carry these burdens in silence any longer. You are not alone. You are not invisible. You are not abandoned. You are seen, you are known, and you are fiercely protected. The very presence of God surrounds you, and the company of angels stands guard over your destiny. As you take this step, let the truth settle in your spirit. You are chosen, not cursed. Your sensitivity is a gift, not a flaw. Your story is still being written, and the author is faithful. As we move forward, let us look deeper into the patterns and the unseen conflict that has tried to hold you back. There is more to uncover, and with every revelation, you will find yourself moving from isolation into the embrace of divine presence. Stay with me, dear one, the journey to clarity and restoration is just beginning. There is a reason you have felt as if you are fighting battles no one else can see. The setbacks that seem to come out of nowhere, the betrayals that cut deeper than words can express, the delays that make you question if your prayers are even being heard, these are not random. They are not the result of some personal flaw or failure on your part. Instead, they are the evidence of an unseen conflict, a spiritual pattern that has tried to weave itself into the fabric of your life. You may have noticed it, just when you are on the verge of a breakthrough, something unexplainable happens. A friend turns cold without warning. An opportunity that seemed certain suddenly evaporates. You find yourself circling the same mountain, facing the same obstacles, wondering why the cycle keeps repeating. It is as if there is an invisible hand, always just out of sight, rearranging the pieces to keep you from moving forward. Beloved, this is not your imagination. These patterns are real, and they are not unique to you. Many who are called, many who carry a divine assignment, experience this kind of resistance. It is not a sign that you are cursed or forgotten. Rather, it is a sign that your destiny is significant enough to draw opposition. The greater the calling, the greater the resistance. But here is the truth. What has been working against you is about to be exposed and overturned. Let us name what has been unnamed. In the language of faith, we sometimes call this witchcraft, not as an accusation against any person, but as a metaphor for the manipulative, unseen forces that seek to twist, block, and confuse. These forces operate in the shadows, sowing seeds of doubt, division, and discouragement. They thrive on secrecy and silence, hoping you will blame yourself or others, never realizing the true source of the struggle. But today, the light of truth is shining into those hidden places. You are not powerless in this battle. What has felt like sabotage is now being exposed for healing. The betrayals you have endured, the sudden shifts that left you reeling, the inexplicable delays that made you question your worth, these are not the final word over your life. They are the battlegrounds where your protection is being revealed. For every act of betrayal, there is a greater act of divine protection. For every delay, there is a promise of restoration. Think back over your journey. Are there patterns that keep repeating? Do you notice a cycle of hope rising, only to be dashed by disappointment? Have you experienced relationships that seem to turn against you without cause, or opportunities that slip away at the last moment? These are the fingerprints of the unseen conflict. But now, you are being invited to see with new eyes. What once looked like sabotage is being reframed as a setup for your deliverance. This is not about blaming others or living in suspicion. It is about recognizing that your life is valuable, your calling is real, and your destiny is worth protecting. The forces that have tried to hinder you are not greater than the one who fights for you. Archangel Michael, the great defender, is assigned to war on your behalf. Divine justice is not a distant hope, it is a present reality, moving even now to shield and restore you. I invite you to take a practical step in this moment. Find a quiet space, and reflect on the patterns that have marked your journey. Journal any recent, strange events, moments that felt off, situations that seemed orchestrated to discourage or derail you. As you write, do not do so in fear, but in faith. You are not cataloging defeat, you are gathering evidence for your victory. Every pattern you name is a chain that can be broken. Every strange event you bring into the light is a place where healing can begin. Remember, what has felt like betrayal is being transformed into protection. The very areas where you have been attacked are the places where you will see the greatest restoration. The cycles of sabotage are being interrupted by the hand of God. You are not at the mercy of unseen forces, you are under the covering of divine authority. As you reflect and write, let hope rise within you. The patterns are being exposed, not to shame you, but to set you free. The delays are being confronted, not to punish you, but to prepare you for release. The betrayals are being healed, not to leave you wounded, but to make you whole. Stay with me, dear one. As we move forward, we will begin to look for the signs and confirmations that heaven is sending to guide you. The fog is lifting, and clarity is coming. Your story is shifting from sabotage to restoration, from confusion to clarity, from betrayal to protection. The next step is to recognize the ways in which the divine is already speaking, already confirming that you are not alone, and that your breakthrough is at hand. Have you ever felt a sudden chill, a whisper in your spirit, or a moment of clarity that seemed to come from nowhere? These are not coincidences, dear one. They are the gentle fingerprints of the divine, subtle yet unmistakable, woven into the fabric of your daily life. In seasons of confusion, when fear tries to take root, heaven often sends signs, reminders that you are not alone, that you are being guided, and that the unseen conflict is not the only force at work around you. Divine confirmation can appear in many forms. Sometimes it comes as a dream that lingers long after you wake, vivid and persistent, carrying a message that your heart cannot ignore. Other times, it is the repetition of a number. Perhaps you keep seeing 111, 333, or 777 on clocks, receipts, or license plates. These numbers are not random, they are signals, gentle nudges from the angelic realm, reminding you that you are on a path watched over by heaven. You may hear a name spoken unexpectedly, or encounter a word or phrase that seems to echo in your spirit, as if it was meant just for you. There are moments when clarity breaks through the fog, when a decision that once felt impossible suddenly becomes clear. You may feel a peace that surpasses understanding, or a surge of courage that rises up just when you need it most. These are not products of your imagination. They are confirmations, evidence that the presence of God and His angels is closer than you think. Let me share a story. A woman once wrote to me, describing how she had been praying for direction in a season of deep uncertainty. She began to notice the same number, 444, appearing everywhere she looked. At first, it unsettled her, stirring anxiety and questions. But as she leaned into faith, she realized it was a sign of angelic protection, a message that she was not walking alone. The fear that once gripped her heart was replaced by faith, and she began to move forward with confidence, trusting that heaven was guiding her steps. Perhaps you have experienced something similar. Maybe you have dismissed these moments as mere coincidence, or allowed fear to overshadow their meaning. Today, I invite you to see them differently. What once triggered anxiety can now be received as a signal of angelic presence. The signs are not meant to frighten you, but to assure you that you are seen, known, and loved. Take a moment now to reflect on the past week. Have there been dreams that felt significant, numbers that kept appearing, names or words that seemed to follow you? Did you experience a sudden clarity or peace in the midst of confusion? These are the ways heaven speaks, offering reassurance and guidance in the midst of the unseen conflict. Write down any signs you have noticed, no matter how small they may seem. As you do, you are training your spirit to recognize the language of the divine. And as you move into the next 24 hours, pay attention. Ask God and His angels to make their presence known to you in a way that you can understand. Be open to the unexpected, a song on the radio, a message from a friend, a scripture that leaps off the page. These are the breadcrumbs that lead you from fear to faith, from uncertainty to assurance. If you feel led, you can whisper this simple declaration: I am open to the signs of heaven. I receive divine confirmation with faith, not fear. Let this be your posture as you continue on this journey. The more you notice, the more you will realize that you are never alone. As we continue, we will explore the spiritual framework and authority that stands behind these signs. You are not at the mercy of random forces. You are protected and empowered by a love that is both fierce and gentle. The next step is to understand the power and presence that covers you, and how you can walk in that authority every day. There is a reason your spirit longs for protection, for justice, for a sense of safety in a world that often feels unpredictable. Deep within, you know you were not created to live under the shadow of fear or the weight of constant lack. You were designed for overflow, for restoration, for the assurance that you are guarded by a power greater than any force that would seek to limit you. In this unseen conflict, you are not left defenseless. You are not at the mercy of chaos or the schemes of darkness. You are covered by a spiritual framework that is both ancient and unbreakable, a framework anchored in the authority of God and enforced by His mighty angels. At the forefront of this heavenly defense stands Archangel Michael, the great protector and champion of divine justice. Throughout Scripture and the stories of the faithful, Michael appears as a warrior, a defender, a messenger of God's unwavering commitment to His people. When Daniel prayed for understanding, it was Michael who contended with the forces of darkness to deliver the answer. When the enemy sought to accuse and destroy, it was Michael who stood as a shield, enforcing the verdict of heaven over the lives of the chosen. Beloved, this same Archangel Michael is assigned to your life. He is not a distant figure from ancient texts, but a present help in your time of need. His sword is drawn on your behalf, His presence a barrier that no curse or scheme can penetrate. The enemy's plan is always to limit, to convince you that you are alone, unprotected, and vulnerable. But heaven's plan is to restore, to overflow, to remind you that you are surrounded by a host of angels and the unshakable authority of God Himself. No curse, no word spoken in malice, no hidden agenda can override the authority of the one who calls you by name. The schemes that have tried to block your progress are powerless in the face of divine justice. Where the enemy whispers scarcity, you will never have enough, you will never be enough, heaven declares overflow, you are more than enough, and all that you need is being provided. The spiritual framework around you is not fragile, it is fortified by the promises of God and the vigilance of His angels. When you feel the pressure of spiritual attack, when anxiety or heaviness tries to settle over you, you have the right and the authority to set boundaries in the spirit. You are not a passive victim, you are an active participant in your own protection. One simple, powerful way to do this is to speak a boundary script aloud, anchoring your spirit in truth. You might say, "I do not receive what is not from God. Only what is blessed, pure, and aligned with heaven's purpose for my life is allowed near me." These words are not magic, but they are a declaration of your alignment with divine authority. They remind your soul, and the unseen realm, where your allegiance lies. Let this truth settle deep within you. You are not fighting for victory, you are fighting from victory. The authority of God is not something you have to earn or strive for. It is your inheritance as a beloved child. The overflow of heaven is not reserved for a select few, it is the birthright of all who trust in the one who restores, redeems, and protects. If you have felt surrounded by scarcity, by lack, by limitation, by the sense that you are always just one step behind, know that this is not your portion. The enemy's plan is to keep you small, to convince you that you must settle for crumbs. But heaven's plan is to seat you at a table of abundance, to pour out blessings that overflow, to restore what has been stolen and to multiply what remains. Whenever you sense spiritual pressure, pause and speak your boundary script. Let it become a habit, a shield, a reminder that you are not alone. I do not receive what is not from God. Say it with conviction, and let the peace of heaven settle over you. You are protected, you are covered, and you are empowered to walk in the fullness of your calling. As we move forward, we will explore the path of reversal, the journey from delay to release, from limitation to breakthrough. You are not destined to remain in cycles of scarcity. The same authority that protects you is the authority that will lead you into restoration and release. Stay with me, dear one, as we step into the next phase of your breakthrough. There comes a moment, beloved, when the tide begins to turn. You may have spent months, even years, feeling as though your life was caught in a cycle of delay, prayers unanswered, dreams deferred, opportunities slipping just out of reach. But what if I told you that the very resistance you have faced is the evidence that your release is near? The journey from delay to release is not a mystery reserved for a chosen few. It is a path that is being revealed to you, step by step, even now. The first step on this path is recognition. You must see the delay for what it is, not a sign of your unworthiness, but a signal that something valuable is being contended for. When you recognize the attack, you take back your power from confusion and self-doubt. You begin to see that the obstacles are not random, but targeted, and that your destiny is worth fighting for. This recognition is the moment the fog begins to lift, and clarity starts to break through. Once you recognize the attack, the next step is to reclaim your authority. You are not powerless in this battle. The authority of God, the protection of Archangel Michael, and the presence of the Holy Spirit are all working on your behalf. But you must choose to stand in that authority. This is where spiritual practices become your lifeline. Take a moment, right now, to declare, I reclaim every area of my life that has been delayed or hindered. I stand in the authority of God, and I declare release over my destiny. Let these words settle in your spirit, not as empty phrases, but as a living truth. But spiritual authority is not just about words, it is about action. This is where practical steps come into play. Setting boundaries is a holy act. It is a way of saying, I will not allow what is not from God to have access to my life. Think about one area where you have felt the most resistance. Perhaps it is a relationship that drains you, a habit that keeps you stuck, or a fear that whispers you are not enough. This week, set a new boundary in that area. It could be as simple as saying no to a toxic conversation, or as bold as reaching out for wise counsel from someone you trust. Seeking wise counsel is another key to moving from delay to release. You were never meant to walk this path alone. Sometimes, the breakthrough you need comes through the wisdom and encouragement of another. Reach out to a mentor, a friend, or a spiritual leader who can pray with you, speak truth over you, and help you see what you cannot see on your own. There is power in agreement, and sometimes the release you seek is waiting on the other side of a simple conversation. As you take these steps, recognizing the attack, reclaiming your authority, setting boundaries, and seeking counsel, you will begin to notice a shift. What was once delayed will start to move. The doors that seemed locked will begin to open. The heaviness that sat on your chest will lift, replaced by a sense of hope and momentum. This is the promise of restoration. What was held back is now being released. Let me encourage you to mark this week as a turning point. Write down the area where you are setting a new boundary or taking a bold step forward. Pray over it, declare release over it, and watch as heaven responds. You are not moving alone, you are moving with the full backing of God's authority and the support of the angelic realm. If you feel led, whisper this prayer: God, I receive your release over every area of my life. I choose to step out of delay and into the fullness of what you have for me. Guide my steps, strengthen my resolve, and surround me with wise counsel. I trust that what was held back is now being released, in your perfect timing. This is your reversal path. Delay is giving way to release. Scarcity is making room for overflow. What once felt impossible is now within reach. As you continue on this journey, remember that every step you take is a declaration of faith, a signal to heaven that you are ready for restoration. Stay with me, dear one. Next, we will step into the power of rituals and declarations, practices that will anchor your breakthrough and keep you moving forward. The journey is not over. In fact, it is just beginning. Release is here, and you are stepping into it, one bold step at a time. There is a sacred power in the words you speak, especially when they are aligned with heaven's truth. In seasons of struggle, it's easy to feel as though you must chase after breakthrough, striving and stretching to grasp what always seems just out of reach. But, beloved, you do not need to chase what God has already placed within you. You carry divine authority. The presence of God, the protection of Archangel Michael, and the promise of restoration are not distant hopes, they are living realities you can access right now. Let's pause together and step into a moment of holy alignment. Wherever you are, take a deep breath and let your spirit settle. You are not striving for victory, you are standing in it. You are not begging for protection, you are already surrounded. You are not pleading for restoration, you are carrying the seed of it within your very being. I invite you to join me in these declarations. Speak them aloud if you can, or whisper them in your heart. If you feel led, Type Amen or I receive as a sign of agreement and participation. Let these words become a rhythm in your spirit, a daily practice for the next 7 days, anchoring you in the truth of who you are and whose you are. Declaration for protection. God, I thank you that I am surrounded by your angels, especially Archangel Michael, who wars on my behalf. I declare that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I am shielded by your love, covered by your grace, and hidden in your presence. Every scheme of darkness is exposed and defeated. I walk in divine protection, now and always. Declaration for restoration. I receive the restoration that heaven has prepared for me. Every place of loss, delay, or betrayal is being redeemed. What was stolen is being returned with increase. I am not chasing after scraps, I am seated at the table of abundance. I carry the authority of a beloved child of God, and I step boldly into my season of overflow. Let these declarations settle into your spirit. You are not striving to earn God's favor or angelic help, you are simply agreeing with what has already been promised. This is the difference between chasing and carrying. You do not have to run after what is already yours. You carry the authority, the protection, and the restoration of heaven within you. As a practical step, I encourage you to repeat these declarations daily for the next 7 days. Make it a morning ritual, a midday pause, or an evening reflection. Each time you speak these words, you are reinforcing the truth that you are not alone, not unprotected, not forgotten. You are a carrier of divine authority, and your words have power to shift the atmosphere around you. If you feel resistance or doubt, remember, it is not your striving that brings breakthrough, but your agreement with God's truth. You are not chasing after what is already yours. You are carrying it, living it, and releasing it with every declaration you make. As we move forward, we will look at the timelines and checkpoints, how to recognize the shifts and breakthroughs that are coming, and how to mark your progress along the way. Stay with me, dear one. The journey continues, and you are moving from striving to carrying, from hope deferred to hope fulfilled. There is a quiet power in watching for the ways heaven moves on your behalf. When you are in the midst of confusion, it can feel as though nothing is changing, as if the fog will never lift. But, dear one, clarity often arrives in gentle increments, like the dawn breaking through the night. This is why it is so important to mark your journey, to notice the subtle shifts, and to honor the process of release and restoration as it unfolds. Heaven often works in rhythms and windows of time. Throughout Scripture and the stories of the faithful, we see God moving in patterns, sometimes in a single day, sometimes over 3 days, 7 days, or even 14. These time windows are not formulas, but invitations to pay attention, to expect movement, and to partner with what God is doing in your life. As you step into this next season, I encourage you to watch for signs of clarity, release, and confirmation within these sacred intervals. In the next 24 hours, be attentive to the small shifts. You may notice a sudden peace, a new idea, or a conversation that brings unexpected encouragement. Ask yourself, what shifted in my spirit today? Write it down, even if it seems minor. The act of noticing is itself a declaration that you are expecting God to move. Over the next 3 days, look for patterns of release. Perhaps a burden lifts, a door opens, or a relationship softens. You might receive a message, a dream, or a sign that confirms you are on the right path. Journal your reflections with this prompt: where did I experience release or breakthrough in these 3 days? As you move into the 7-day window, pay attention to the bigger picture. Are you seeing more clarity in your decisions? Is there a sense of momentum building, or a new opportunity emerging? Sometimes, the fog lifts gradually, and what was once confusing becomes clear. Use this journaling prompt: how has clarity increased in my life over the past week? Finally, in the span of 14 days, look back and notice the transformation. Restoration often comes in layers, and what felt impossible 2 weeks ago may now feel within reach. Ask yourself, what has been restored or renewed in my life over these 14 days? Celebrate every shift, no matter how small, as evidence that you are moving from confusion to clarity, from delay to release. These checkpoints are not about striving or forcing results. They are about cultivating awareness, gratitude, and faith. As you journal and reflect, you are training your spirit to recognize the movement of heaven. You are declaring that you expect God to speak, to guide, and to restore. The fog of confusion cannot remain where the light of awareness is shining. If you feel led, whisper this simple prayer: God, open my eyes to see your hand at work in every season. Help me to notice the shifts, to celebrate the progress, and to trust your timing. Let this be your posture as you move through each time window. Remember, beloved, clarity is coming. The fog is lifting. As you track your journey, you will see that you are not standing still, you are moving forward, step by step, into the fullness of your destiny. Next, we will explore how to walk in discernment, set healthy boundaries, and respond to objections or doubts with faith and wisdom. The journey continues, and you are being equipped for every step.